Hello there. So the pandemic is going on pretty much a year now, and we've all been inside a lot. So the challenge today is to create a product or a solution to a problem that we have at home. So the solution that I have come up with is having a more enjoyable way of getting down from the second floor to the main floor in a quicker manner. And to do that, we're going to build a slide. Now, before I go ahead and build the slide, we're going to do a couple prototypes. So, I've built a small set of stairs here that we can build a prototype slide on. Just kidding. I actually forgot I had these stairs, and so they would have been great for prototyping on. But I went ahead and built a scale model of the stairs that we have here in our house. So as you can see here, it's accurately, perfectly to scale. You can double check the numbers if you want. The number of steps is accurate, the number of curved steps all the way down here. And this will help us demonstrate and simulate a couple of different ideas that we have here for constructing the slide. The slide itself will be constructed using renewable material, cardboard, and it will be done safely and in a manner that doesn't obstruct the use of the staircase for people who don't want to take the slide. So given that we're using cardboard, it's going to be a bit tough to build it strong enough for adults to use. So I'm going to have to still be able to walk down the stairs while my kids and our non-existent pet take the slide. So that's one challenge we're going to have to overcome. How do we create the slide without interfering with the ability to walk down the stairs? Second, we have this curve here. How are we going to deal with that curve so that they can slide down in a safe manner? And then thirdly, the design, or that becomes firstly, what kind of a design are we going to use for this slide here? So first of all, the easiest solution would be just to take cardboard and lay it down. I mean, heck, you could also just take a piece of cardboard and slide down the stairs on that. Now, that would work pretty well to slide down, but as you can see, when somebody who is above the limits of the slide's capacity comes, it's kind of difficult for them to walk down. So, second option is we can create kind of a chuted slide that creates sidewalls and divides the staircase in two. This was the revolutionary idea, creating space on the side where we have steps and the slide on the other side. Now, my kids can go down the slide. Meanwhile, I can walk down the slide here on the other side. Notice I've chosen to have the slide on the outside against this edge here, as opposed to on the inside, which will create a wider corner that we can bank around. So, however, a slide like this, the main challenge is that this interior wall wouldn't be very strong because there's no support for it. And the other point is, while the steps are supporting the slide, in between there's chance of the slide buckling, and mainly trying to create a nice smooth swoop around the corner here is going to be a challenge with this type of design. So the flat, that's right out of the question. Going with a walled, more traditional slide is a step in the right direction, but not quite there. So, the final idea, which is kind of what I think we'll go ahead doing, is to take our cardboard. I've pre-scored the back, which we'll remember for later, that technique, which allows us to create this kind of a half dome shaped slide, which is a lot smoother to sit in. It'll allow us to make sections around this outer corner so that again, our kid can slide down while I can walk down on the other side without too much trouble. So this will be our slide design, curved cardboard, scoring it, and then a second aspect to that will be some support pieces here, which will support the side walls, which if you remember with our rectangle here, we had an issue of how do we support that side wall. So we've created these little U-shaped supports that we can put one on each step, and that way when we assemble this slide, it can be secured to those supports and we can slide down the slide nice and easily. So obviously I don't have super long cardboard, so I'm going to have to build this in sections, which means we're going to have a couple different sections like this that create the slide, where they'll have to be overlapping, which this will actually help probably when we come around the corner, where we can take the slide and sort of cut it off at an angle and then tuck our next portion into it, creating a nice sweeping motion around the corner. The other thing we're going to keep in consideration is as we make the slide, we're going to build it in a way that the upper portion overlaps the lower portion, so that when you slide down, you're sliding down the slide and you're not hitting a bunch of these ridges that could be painful and also destroy the slide. So that's the main idea here. We're going to create a slide that takes up half the staircase and it goes on the outside for the wider curve, and we're going to have to look here to see whether we can maybe support this outer corner a bit better. So that's the idea. Hello again. So now that we have our idea in place, we've done a bit of a prototype to get the concept of how we're going to build this. We're going to go in and cover what tools we're going to use to create this before we go ahead and start the build. So as I mentioned, we're going to be using cardboard. It's readily available in most homes. You'll have it from packaging that are orders that you've received, any items that you've purchased. There's usually a lot of this in anybody's home. So that'll be constructing the main slide. We're going to be using scissors and knives to cut the cardboard. So whenever we're using scissors or knives, we want to be careful. Make sure that when you're done using the knife that you close it up again so that somebody doesn't accidentally pick it up and hurt themselves. Scissors as well, just make sure that you're not running with them open or even walking around with them open, that you carry them in a way that's safe, that you don't hurt someone, and also when you're using them, that you're using them in a safe manner, that you don't cut yourself or someone else. A pencil and a straight edge is useful for marking out. You can use the straight edge to cut straight lines with the knife. And then for constructing, we're going to be using a glue gun and tuck tape. You could also use just regular packing tape or duct tape, but I feel like I had some left over here from a construction job or a renovation that I was doing in the basement, so I figured it's nice and strong, it'll be good for the job. And you can just use like a regular small glue gun. I like this heavy duty one because it can handle going through a lot of glue very quickly. So this is the idea. We're going to be using these tools to create this. The other thing I wanted to show you here is for curving the cardboard. Now, one way that you could do it is, you see you have these little ridges in here. You can curve along with those ridges and use that kind of as a tactic. But for my boxes, I found that actually that'll end up with shorter sections, so we'll end up having more seams. So to use the material a bit better, I'm going to have to curve it against that. And that's kind of difficult to do. So I'll show you this little technique here, where we use our straight edge, and we start from the edge here, and then we just lightly with our knife score along the cardboard. It's better to do lighter pressure and maybe a couple passes. You just need enough to score that top edge, and you continue in a even spacing across the cardboard. You can always go back and add more score cuts in between these if you find that the curve isn't good enough. And then the other trick that I found, remember, shut your knife, is because we've gone against the grain or against these perforated core structure, we don't want to end up cutting through and ripping the cardboard entirely. So what I found is that if you take a piece of tape and just support it across there at the top and at the bottom, if it's a longer piece you might want to put one in the middle, and that just kind of holds the structure together. And now what you're doing basically is you're coming along, hopefully my stairs are more sturdy than that, and you're just going along that scored line, bending those cuts through. You might have to go back here and rescore a bit more. Again, be careful not to be coming close to your hands. Don't cut towards yourself. And as you can see, it's starting to create a bit of a curved portion. Now if you want this curve to be tighter, like I said, you could go back and add a couple strips in there. But then as you can see too, the tape holds it nice and strong at the bottom, gives it some extra support. And now we're starting to create that curve which would sit on our slide. And then I'll also show you here with our sections, when we're making our slide, we want to make sure that the upper portion of the slide sits on top of the lower portion so that one runs over it nicely. And then as we come for the corners, we can cut it at a bit of an angle, and that'll create the start of our corner. So let's go ahead and start building our actual slide. So I decided to do a complete prototype before we build our final build. So here it is. As you can see, we're going to put some cushions at the bottom for safety. And we have this little banking edge. Felix, kan du visa oss hur den funkar? So the kid goes into the slide at the top. Oh! Försök igen. So we need to fold this back here so they don't get caught there. And there we go! Caught on the little pillow! Perfectly safe. Let's go build the real thing. So I've been thinking about it, and I don't think the prototype is quite there yet. I don't think it really gives a full sense for what the slide is going to look like and act like in its true environment. So I think I need to take this prototype a step further. Knock, knock.
It is like and what near?
Ja? Kan du visa? Okej, slide igen. Whee!
I was for once my mother's second son. I left it all for another lonely one. Take my soul and try and build me up. Nothing more when we've barely got enough.
Okay.
Woo! Var det kul?
Ja.
Vill du göra det igen? Kom.
Tread your love to fear. Treat me like the ever after. I'm scared of me.